Welcome to Don't Take This Personally,
a podcast about the business of creativity.
We are your hosts, Cami Oliveria
And Gabe Conover.
Welcome back to another episode.
That should just be our jingle. Is you saying something like that every time?
Oh my gosh, I say that every time, don't I? Wow.
You do.
That's funny. Okay, quick little housekeeping corner. Join us Tuesdays. Every Tuesday morning, we'll hop on Clubhouse to talk about the previous week's episode. Follow us on Instagram at Don't Take This Personally _podcast so you can hear when we'll be going on. It's going to be like 10, 10:30 or 11 every week, kind of in that range. So.
Something like that. But
Something like that.
Lives change.
Yeah, lives change. We're busy,
Yes.
but it'll always be kind of Tuesday mid-morning.
Yes, love it.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about advertising on a budget.
Advertising on a budget.
We all started at the beginning, right?
Right.
I know I did.
Yeah.
Some people like to act like they start in the middle, but you know.
Yeah, some people do. Fake it till you make it, which is another interesting.
Sometimes it works, I guess.
Okay, that's an interesting rabbit hole we could go down.
But we won't. Not today.
Not today. Not in this topic.
No, advertising on a budget. So pretty much this topic was all inspired by when we first started out. And yeah. I mean, Cami has been in the game longer than I have, but when I started in the beginning of 2018, I had literally nothing on the books, and I had so much free time because I quit my job and just took a giant ass risk.
So scary.
Very scary, which motivated me in a different way. But yeah, how was I, as a new business owner with no money to spend on my new business, going to get myself out there?
Yeah. How?
Well, I'll tell you.
Oh, okay,
that's why
great.
we're here.
Oh, great. Thank you. Tell me.
Yes. So,
because we understand in the beginning you don't have money to throw at advertising.
Yes, and sometimes even in the middle you don't have money to throw at. I mean, COVID again.
Even now, maybe. I don't
theme
know.
of the year.
COVID.
There's a little fart noise.
Yeah, it was subtle.
It was. I heard it. Anyway, so yeah, what it really all comes down to is this one key word that I love, and you've probably heard on Instagram before, and that is impressions. And I'm not going to get all Instagrammy on you, but impressions to me is just someone coming into contact with your business in any sort of way.
Yeah.
And this can look like many, many things. It can look like someone finding your photo on their explore page on Instagram. It can be someone posting your photo on Facebook and their friends seeing it from there. It can be real life, them witnessing you actually doing your job at a real wedding or whatever it is that you do. It can be anything. It can be someone telling their friends about you. All of these things are impressions.
Or I like the word exposure.
Ooh, exposure.
It helps me wrap my mind around this concept, thinking of exposures to you.
Exposures.
Yeah.
Another photo term. Look at us
Oh,
and our
photo pun.
puns.
Another pun. I thought you were going to say, another COVID pun. I was like, exposure.
I mean, it's also that.
Oh.
But I was going for a more positive spin on it.
My face sunk when you said, I was like,
yeah,
COVID exposures. No, I'm photo exposure. So yeah, impressions, exposures.
Okay, perfect.
You love it.
So, yes. So another statistic that we're going to throw at you is on average it takes about 7 impressions or exposures for someone to trust your business with their money. And again, in my opinion, different types of exposure has... I mean, I'm just flipping this word around. I like yours better. Different types of exposures have a different amount of power. So if someone were to find your photo on Instagram, that's not going to speak very much to them because it's just, a quick little photo. They saw it. They don't know anything about you. But someone witnessing you working and in your element in real life, that's going to have so much more power.
That could be worth like 4 impressions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That could have like impression power 5.
Oh.
Impression power 3, 4, somewhere in there.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, that's wild. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much what I'm trying to say here is that impressions, you want to get your work in front of people as many times as possible. Or you. Yeah. You want to shove your business in people's faces as many times as possible so that they trust you with their business. And the great analogy of this is I like to use this little coffee shop analogy I have, which is, let's say it was my first time coming over to Cami's house and I'm driving through her little area here in Normal Heights and I'm driving through the little downtown strip and I see this new coffee shop and I'm like, oh, I like their branding. That looks kind of cool. But I don't go there because I don't really know anything about it. Then a couple weeks later, I mean, am I going to come back to that coffee shop when I think, oh, I want coffee?
After
No.
seeing it one time?
No, I'm going to forget about it in a second. And then maybe I come over to Cammie's house again and I drive by it again and I'm like, oh, there's that place again. It still looks cool. Like I feel like I should look into it. And I'm like, oh, maybe that second impression inspired me to go look at their reviews or something like that. And then I'm like reading their reviews, and that's my third point of contact with this business, and they're saying all of these positive things. And then I look at all of these fancy like lattes that they have, and I'm like, oh, I've never tried that kind of latte before. That sounds interesting. And now I'm like exposing myself to this business so many times.
And reviews are probably worth like 2 impression power points.
Yes, 2 impression power. IP. 2 IP.
2 IP.
So now I'm much more likely to trust this business with my money because I've, come into contact with them in so many different ways already. So, and then I mean, Starbucks is a great example of this. Like there's literally one on every single corner.
Yeah.
Their cups are so recognizable.
I get at least 7 Starbucks impressions a day.
Yes. There you go. And
Every
it's
day.
and it's easy to spend money at Starbucks because they are dependable and we do trust them because they've been in business for so long.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they've been in business for so long. No matter how much you hate the company, there is a reason that they are so successful.
Even to the point where bad reviews wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
You'll still go
That's
there.
so
it's
true.
really interesting.
Wow, very interesting.
Wow, impression power, 1,000,000.
Let's get to
for
the
them.
point where, bad reviews don't matter.
Good
Just
luck
kidding.
for our kind
Yeah,
of business.
that's true. That's
Good
true.
luck. So impressions, you gotta, people have to have repeat exposures and experiences to you and with you for them to trust you.
Right.
So whether that's seeing your images, seeing you at a wedding, a referral, that's a high impression power. Like having someone tells, their friends like, oh, I loved this person. That's, I mean, my analogy is I've been getting hit with some Facebook ads for swimsuits. The sun is shining. It feels like summer in California. I just bought 3 swimsuits the other day. My tone went down when I said that because my husband's in the other room. I just bought a few swimsuits the other day because I kept getting hit with the same fucking ad over and over and over and over and over. It took like 10 impressions of that Facebook ad for me to bite. And then I was finally like, fine, you're right. They're cute and cheap. I'll buy a few.
Yep.
Don't worry, Victor. He listens to this. They were only $10 each.
My pants are literally a testament to this too.
No
I got
way.
advertised them like 50 times
Oh my
and
gosh,
I was
these
like,
look thrifted.
they're not.
I thought these were thrifted.
This is one of the only things I didn't thrift.
Oh,
This
they're
was
so-
thrifted.
They're so cool.
Just the pants. Anyway,
Whereas
it's true.
if a friend was like, oh my gosh, I love this swimsuit company. They're amazing. They feel so good. They're so comfy. They fit so well. I would have only needed like 1 and 2 impressions
Great.
of that.
Totally.
Whereas this website on Facebook, cheap ass shit, it took 10 times of like, these are cute and you're working out. We see you look up workout stuff. You must be in the mood to wear a bathing suit this summer. And it worked.
It did.
But it took a lot longer than the things
Yes.
that someone will
Yes.
personally refer. So,
Exactly.
different. I think you guys understand. Different impressions will have different IPs, impression PowerPoints,
Right.
IPPs,
IPPs.
IPPs. So,
Yes. IPP. Sorry, that took a second to
I know.
resonate.
Impression PowerPoints.
Right.
Impression PowerPoints.
So this next point will be a little bit more geared towards photographers, but hopefully other people can relate to this too.
We are lucky
We
as
are
photographers.
lucky. Yes, we are, because the barrier to entry is low.
The barrier to entry is low, besides having to invest in gear. But still, the barrier of entry is low because you could rent if you just, if you can't afford your own equipment yet, you can always rent.
Right.
So unlike other types of services like florists or something, we're like how we're stealing each
Perfect.
other's points that we
Yes.
went over.
I know. I was like hesitant to say. I was like, let's transition to this, but this is what Cammie said.
I know. I just went through that same thing. This was Gabe's point.
No.
So, like, when we do a styled shoot or something like that, photographers only have to give their time. Other vendors, it actually takes money.
Yes.
Like, florists, when they participate in a styled shoot, it costs them actual dollars to
Yes.
put something together because they have to buy all the product, and especially photographers, we have such high expectations on these florists, and
Oh my
it's
gosh, we have such high expectations.
such
on
high
florists.
expectations, and it is expensive for them to
Yeah,
pull
it
off.
is.
So we are lucky in the sense that once we have our gear or once we rent or whatever, the only cost to us is time.
Totally. And I mean, I would love to know maybe in our Clubhouse episode about this, what other types of small business owners have done to, advertise without spending money, because it's not something that I personally, like, how is a florist able to advertise without spending money? I don't really know if it's possible. If you do know, join our Clubhouse florist and tell us next week. But yeah, pretty much the barrier to entry is low, as Cammie brought up, but I said.
Yeah, that was my point.
But so to us, time is money. Time is money, money is power, power is pizza.
IPP.
None of that was relatable.
Impression power points.
Oh my god. I was quoting Parks and Rec for anyone.
And I was just continuing on something.
We're acting high on this episode.
We
It's good. I like it. We're not.
We're not.
Maybe. Anyway, so yeah, barrier to entry is low. Time is money. So something that I did, an actual practical example of this when I first started is, like I said, I didn't have much business lined up for me already. I went into the 2018 year when I first went full time with 7 weddings on the books. So obviously I had a lot of free time, and the point of, taking that big risk was I was going to use a full 40 to 50 hour work week to actually try and grow a business that I didn't have already. So what I did is I actually challenged myself to shoot at least 3 times a week, not at least 3 times a week. I didn't shoot more than that. But was I actually getting paid for all of these shoots? No, obviously not, because no one knew about me enough to actually find me and pay me money to do something like that. So I would set up all these shoots. That was just all it was intended for, was to expand my reach, to expand my impressions to new people, and shove my work in all these new people's faces. So IPP. And that should be a t-shirt we make for people. Anyway, okay. Getting product ideas.
Raise your IPP. Raise your impression PowerPoints.
So, with that said, a way that I would often find people, because I was always trying to find people that I didn't know or were not really in my circle of friends or family or whatever, is I would go to like popular bar or coffee shop Instagram pages, go to their tagged photos and look for people that had a partner and try to reach out to them, see if they wanted to shoot.
This
I do
when
too.
I'm looking for couples for different projects.
Literally same.
This is a great approach.
Yeah, and I just ask them if they want free photos at a place that I choose and in outfits that I, direct a little bit. And who doesn't want free photos? There's probably some people.
Yeah,
but
I mean, very few people will say no to you.
Yeah, because it's just an opportunity for them to get something that maybe is a luxury to them too. So that is how I would start. And then what I do is I still do this to this day, I friend all of my clients, all of the people that I take photos of on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I post their photos 500 times. I'm exaggerating. But what I'll do is once I edit a sneak, I'll post them on a few of them on Facebook and tag them in it and be like, look at this fun shoot I did of these people.
And do you do that from your business page?
No.
You do it from your personal?
From my personal.
Yeah.
Because Facebook doesn't like businesses. They want you to spend money. So you have to do it from your personal. So you've just been using your personal. I've always used my personal page.
Do you even have a business page?
I do, but I don't do anything on it.
It just exists.
It exists because I'm supposed to have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's on my personal page, and then all of their friends and their family members are seeing this now.
Smart.
And then when I finish the gallery, I'll do it again. I'll post a couple other favorites that I hadn't posted before, tag them in it. I blog every session that I do, so I'll blog the little session, and then I will post that little blog post link, and that's 3 impressions already. And then guess what? If this was an engagement shoot, then that means I'm also shooting their wedding, and then I do the same thing with their wedding.
Well, and here's the thing. If people that people know are in the photos, I would say those are worth more IPPs.
Yes, they
those
are.
That's gonna be higher IPP value if people know the people in the pictures.
Which is why I always post a big bridal party photo too, because there are more people that are interested.
And, and here's the thing: don't get frustrated if people aren't quote unquote engaging with those. Like,
agreed.
I get frustrated with social media, but Facebook in particular, because I'll post things and then I almost feel embarrassed that it doesn't get a lot of likes, or it's like low engagement. But Gabe and I were talking before we started recording, most of our own engagement happens passively.
Like, yes.
It's all about impressions. Don't like, don't care if people aren't liking it or commenting or whatever. The point is
just for
people
them
are
to see
seeing
it.
it and they're exposed to it. And I have people who inquire with me that are like, I've been following you your whole career and I've been waiting to be able to inquire. And I'm like, I've never seen you like any of my stuff, and I don't have enough engagement or enough followers. Like, I notice when the same people like my stuff a lot. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. Like, they like all my pictures. I notice. So so on that note, I notice when they don't. And so when someone says something like that, so don't discount the power of exposure and IPPs, even if people aren't engaging, because so much of this is happening passively.
Right. I mean, literally, the coffee shop example is that. Like, I'm just passing by this coffee shop. I'm not actually engaging with it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But it's still making an impression on me because I noticed something about it that I liked a little bit, right?
Yes.
So.
And I think a really important piece to this, well, okay, just backing up for a second. I did the same thing when I was starting photography, and I did it less intentionally than Gabe, but now years later, I can see that I did the same thing, but not on purpose. In 2014, I was just starting to shoot set. I think I shot my first wedding in either 2012 or 2013. I can't remember what year that was. And I just, I shot that first wedding and then was starting to do some random things in college, photo related. And I was having so much fun that at the start of 2014, I was just like, I'm going to make a goal to shoot something new every week. And the point wasn't what we're describing. I was just genuinely having so much fun and wanted to challenge and push myself and shoot all the kinds of sessions and all the different places with all kinds of people. Yeah. So I just made it a goal for myself. Like, and I was doing this in Seattle. So a lot of this was like for some of my blogger friends, it was like blogger portraits or couple sessions or getting my friends together or whatever it was. I just had the goal every single week. I'm going to be shooting something new.
Yes.
The momentum of that, by the time it was summer, I had to quit my nannying job to go full-time into photography. I didn't even do that on purpose. I was just genuinely so excited to be shooting. I did free work 4 months every single week. I was just like, I just need to be shooting something. And the momentum of that, the people following us don't know if it's paid work or not, and they honestly don't care. They just see you as really busy shooting, and that makes them want you if they like what you have to offer. So I did exactly what Gabe did. I just did it not on purpose, but the same thing happened for the both of us. We just made sure to fill our calendar with new shoots and new content, so we always had new stuff to share with the world and new people to tag and things like that. So this is really important. The number one thing that comes up for me in mentor sessions with photographers is photographers who say, I want to be shooting, but I'm not getting any clients. And I'm like, okay, you're not getting clients because you aren't shooting. Like you are causing that to happen.
Yes.
If you want to shoot it, you have to show it. We hear that all over. I didn't come up with that phrase. I've heard that in all sorts of workshops and stuff. If you want to shoot it, you got to show it. If you aren't shooting, you're not going to book work. You need to even appear. So this is maybe a little bit the fake it till you make it piece. You have to appear like a full-time working photographer for people to trust you.
None
and
of
to
the
be
wiser.
Able to book more.
They don't know.
They don't know. They just like what you're doing, see you doing it a lot. That builds trust. And so free work is the actual number one best thing you can do to book out your calendar.
Yes, because it's not. I was telling Cammy, I'm like, it's not hide and seek. Like,
no,
it's not like, oh, let's look for a photographer. Oh, we found you. It's like, shove your work in front of these people. Like, literally, don't wait for them to find you.
But also not from like a thirsty place, because I think people can kind of sniff that out and they don't like it.
Totally.
But from a place of, if it's real and you're genuinely excited about the work you're producing, I think the right energy comes off of that and people are into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I've done so many things that have definitely come across pretty try hard, because I've try everything because I want to learn and I want to grow and figure things out and what works and what doesn't. And honestly, the times that I've been obviously trying very hard are the times that I was the least successful, because it's ingenuine.
Yes. And people's bullshit meter goes off.
Exactly.
They can feel it. People can kind of sense if it comes across as thirsty or desperate or whatever it is. I can't even think of it, what that would be. Right. But it's like,
it's not you coming up to someone and being like, please hire me. Come, like hire me, pay me money to do my job. It's so sleazy when it comes across like that. It's, hey, I do this.
Yes.
Like it's just a very different type of putting yourself out there.
I see a lot of messaging out there from people that I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds desperate and thirsty, and like I wouldn't trust a vendor if they were coming out like that, because it's clear they're not getting work and they're mad about it, and that does not build trust. Where building trust is you coming out being so confident about what you're doing and genuinely excited. And I think people really pick up on that energy. Like I have people who book me all the time who say it's so clear to me how obsessed you are with this. And I was like, oh, I am just a very naturally excited person, and I just am doing my best to type captions how I would talk about things. Totally. And you know, people can sense when the excitement is genuinely there or when it's kind of thirsty.
Right.
I mean, we're all tired of being sold to.
Right. Totally.
We're all sold to all the time on social media.
Right. Yes. And this is a great transitioning point for us to talk about the next thing, which is, honestly, there's only really two things that we were going to talk about as far as advertising on a budget. But next is networking in real life. I think that especially, I mean, I guess it's hard with COVID and stuff like that. So maybe make this more of like a futuristic tactic or whatever. But I feel like social media is so all encompassing that we feel like our entire lives are built off of the presence that we have on social media, and it causes us to neglect our real life presence, which, like we were talking about, is so much more powerful.
Those are some high IPP,
you guys.
Impression PowerPoint.
Yes, because when we are engaging with someone on social media, there's only so much of our personality that we can portray to people. Yeah. And you know, no one knows what's real and what's fake for the most part until they actually meet you in person.
Correct.
I've had people that have created impressions of me that were very inaccurate based off, and then I had one of my friends that I met traveling abroad.
You're so I was fancy. Traveling abroad. He's so fancy.
But the girl that the incredible photographer that shot my vow renewal with my wife in Ireland, she was like, we've been friends on social media, and I remember one thing she said to us when we actually met in person was that she was so happy that I was actually the same person that I was on social media.
What an incredible compliment.
Yeah, it was amazing. She said, because how many people have we met that we have this persona of based on social media, and then we meet them in real life and we're like, what? I thought you were this big boisterous personality. You're nothing like that. You are like, how come you're trying to act like someone that you're not? It doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
So we need to be using our real life to our advantage. And I know Cami and I both have personal experiences. Again, I'm not like meeting new people and being like, hi, I'm Gabe. I'm a wedding photographer. You should hire me for your wedding. That is obviously obnoxious.
Yeah.
But it is your job, your occupation is part of natural conversation. Totally. And if you are befriending people and you're networking with people in real life, it is something they're going to know about you. And if they like you as a person, why wouldn't they look into what you do if they have a need for that service? So I, for example, bought a house in June last year, and our loan officer who handled our loan, we just like connected a lot when we were on the phone with each other all the time. We were similar in some areas. We have great conversations.
That's so cool.
I know. Shout out Michael Stowers.
That's so cool.
But literally, unfortunately, I was already booked. But he asked me to shoot his wedding, and then I was like, man, who would have thought that I would be making this incredible connection with my loan officer? And then the other day on Facebook, I noticed he tagged me in someone's post, and I was like, what is Michael doing tagging me in someone's post? And I went to it, and it was a post of someone saying they were looking for a wedding photographer, and he was like, hire Gabe, he's the best in the business. And I was like, wow, like,
it's amazing.
Imagine the amount of work that I can get from these real life experiences from real life people, because I'm actually focusing on creating genuine connections with people in real life, not just on social media.
Yeah, and I would say too, that's a reason to like be a good person.
No, it's
like,
true.
Don't just put on your best behavior when you think it could result in some sort of business dealing or something. Like, I've had many times where maybe I was having a bad day, and everyone's allowed to have bad days, but maybe I didn't handle an interaction like I would have wanted to, and then I found out they were engaged. And then I was like, fucking fuck. I was kind of mean, and I wish I would have been nice to that person, because I would have loved to make a better impression. You know, so like...
you don't know.
You never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
A great point.
A real life example from me is maybe the only real life example I have, because it's the only thing I've been doing besides hanging out with Gabe since COVID started. But like my gym friends, like we're pretty involved in our gym community. It's it's a small gym, really close. We go every day. Same people go every day. And the amount of referrals referrals for weddings I've gotten, and like
Awesome.
the presets they've purchased. And I'm not walking into the gym like, oh, I'm a wedding photographer. It doesn't come up, but we make real life connections, and then they follow me on Instagram because they find me and I find them and whatever. And then they're like, oh my God, you're a wedding photographer? So cool. My friend's engaged. And like, you know, just things like that. You just don't ever underestimate the impression you're leaving with people in real life, even if you think your business is separate. It all kind of comes back together. And then this is also my case for being really incredible to vendors in the moment. I can't tell you, we've kind of talked about this in other episodes, but how many times I've worked with florists and planners and other vendors, and they're like, the photographers never, I'll say like, oh, I'll send you previews. And they're like, yeah, right. No, photographers never do that. And I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yes.
I will be the photographer who does.
I love that.
So you have to, if you tell these vendors you're going to send them pictures, fucking do it, because you don't and they notice.
Yes.
They take note. And I work with vendors who are like, I recommend you because you actually do the shit you say you're going to do. You don't act better than everyone here. And newsflash, photographers don't have a great reputation in our industry. And we are trying to change that. Just be better to vendors too.
Right. I think to keep going off of that too is, I used to always think too, like, oh, well, I'll have a certain reaction with people who I think could, going back to, okay, here we're going to restart. Going back to what Cammie is saying about how she had that time where she was not in the best mood and then she found out this couple was engaged. Again, it's not like we should treat people based off of just trying to get business out of them.
Right.
But I used to have this mindset where I was like, oh, this person obviously is not going to need my services ever. So like, why would I go out of my way to just, you know, I look at it from my studio. A perspective is my studio, my new studio. I'm in a mall. I get a lot of foot traffic, and a lot of older people will come up to my door and be like, what are you even doing
literally
in here?
happened when we tried to record a podcast there.
Like literally, what are you guys doing in here? Because it's, to them, it's a very brand new concept that they don't understand. And in the beginning, I was just like, trust me, guys, you're never going to need this place. Like, it's not worth my time to explain it to you. Obviously, I didn't say that, but that was my mindset. I would just like kind of explain it to them, brush them off a little bit because I had other things to do that I thought were more important, which is so not true. Because I'm telling you this from a perspective of, I get so many inquiries from people who literally heard about me from their great aunt or their uncle or their grandma or something like that, because their grandma saw me at another wedding and they were like, this guy was awesome. Yeah. You have no idea the type of impression that you can leave on anyone.
Why we really need to be good to guests at weddings.
Exactly.
Like, you have no idea who's watching, who's engaged, whose daughter is engaged, whose cousin is engaged. And I heard an amazing statistic, and now I wish I remembered it, that it's like on average,
1 to 2. I think
1 to 2 bridesmaids or groomsmen will be engaged within the year of their friend's wedding, whoever they're in. You know, so like, treat everyone. Don't be a diva to people. Treat everyone well, because you never freaking know. And I didn't even expect us to talk about this in this.
I know,
but it's
so
just
interesting.
It's so interesting. But this matters. So, like, who you are, this is your free advertising. Like, to bring it around. Like, yes, okay, I will also make a case for every time I've been scared to put money into advertising, it has paid for itself over and over and over. So I've always been quite a risk taker when it comes to not being scared to put money into advertising, because it will pay itself forward a million times, but we're not always there, and that's the reality. And so we have these incredible little computers at our fingertips at all times. That is a marketing machine, and if you just put the time in to create the kind of work you want to be attracting, posting about it a lot, putting good energy out there, the right people will find you. And it's kind of that easy. And to not get too prideful, and we talked about this in pricing as well, so I won't go on about this forever, but I went through a second wave of this when I was trying to move my business here. When I was starting my business for the first time, I did the free shoots every single week until people started asking me for shoots. And then when I wanted to move my business to California, people need to be able to see themselves in your work. And so I was not going to appeal to a bunch of California couples with my Pacific Northwest portfolio. So I came down to San Diego on my own dollar. No one was paying me to come here every single month for a year and a half to get to build content shoots here. So there were some people early on when I moved here that were a little snippy with me about, oh, Cami came here and just like started booking all this shit. And I'm like, I won't stand for that kind of conversation, because do you know the sacrifice and how much money I put in and the work it took to come here every single month for a year and a half to build a portfolio here. And then that transitioned into real clients. That's the end of my rant. I stopped the timer because I was mid-rant.
Amazing. And on that note, this episode is over.
This episode is over. You have everything you need to advertise from your fingertips starting today.
See you on Clubhouse next week.
Go create. Bye.
Bye.